Welcome to the Space in Between podcast, a series where we will talk about everything and anything mental performance in a bite-sized fashion.
I'm Sienna and I'm here with Frida. We are both certified mental performance consultants from Ireland and Sweden. On this podcast, we share our knowledge and passion for all things sport and performance psychology. This includes all things mindset, exercise, sport, everyday life, and insights into how we help ourselves and others with developing our mindset. Before we get stuck into today's topic, just a reminder to follow us on every single platform possible, especially YouTube and Instagram. On the tubes right now, we are sharing a stretch for the mind, so combining the physical and the mental. And then soon we're going to be releasing a journaling for performance series, which we're very excited about, and you should be too. And yeah, if anyone wants to get to work on their mental performance, you know where to find us.
That's it. And if you don't follow us yet on YouTube, you can still be a part of our road to 1,000 followers. We broke the 100 follower mark, or subscriber.
1/10 of the way there.
So the next milestone naturally will be 1,000.
Yeah, just 10 times as many.
Easy.
It doesn't take 10 times as long.
Same. Yeah. Anyway, now that we have those fun things out of the way, let's get going with the topic of today. What are we going to talk about, Sienna?
We are talking about reflecting on your performances. I mean, it does what it says on the tin.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, isn't it?
Yeah, so how can we reflect holistically to be more specific and in a productive way to help us move forward?
Yeah. And, this is one of those things that it is important, and it's important to do with purpose, because for many athletes and people in general, whatever type of performance area you're in, we tend to think about what we do a lot, but it might not always be the most helpful way, especially if we're dwelling or just replaying the things that, we're unhappy with. And that's something that we tend to do as humans because we have a negativity bias.
Yeah, and it's a lot more common if you think about sports. We can all think about the performances we weren't happy with and maybe mistakes that stand out. And we're like, oh my God, how did that happen? It's a lot less common to be able to, at the top of your head, share in detail about a performance you felt really good about, or like a specific moment that was one of the best things you've ever done in your sport. And even we find when working one-to-one with people, like we'll ask people to describe a performance that they were not happy with and then a performance that they felt really good about. And, people can tell me a lot about the performances that they didn't feel good about, but not as much about the ones that they felt good about. So that's why it's so important to reflect, to see the whole picture.
Yeah. And that's why we're going to go through 3 specific questions that we would ask athletes to reflect on, and highly recommend when you're reflecting on this to actually writing it down, because that is something that can work in your favor over time as well, to have it all in one space. But I think especially like with these 3 questions that we're going to go over, I think back on when I played soccer and I wish that I had something like this, because I was so good at, after the game, just ruminating and dwelling and thinking about all the things that didn't go my way. Not even with that, but let's say we won the game and I played midfield. So it's not like I would be in a scoring position very often, or, the passes that could lead like an assist or whatever. But the few moments in the game that I would have that I had a shot on goal, or if I had done this, then maybe I would have scored or we would have scored. Like the amount of times I would think and just dwell on that, unable to move on, like it would keep me up for hours laying in bed.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's actually ridiculous when I think about it, the amount of energy that took.
Yeah, that sounds tiring.
It is. So that's why I wish we had this. I had this back then. Or anything to help. But I was very good at, laying awake at night, just replaying moments over and over and over and over again.
I feel like when I was younger, I was pretty good at just like not really reflecting at all, not dwelling on the bad and also not dwelling on the good, just kind of being like, okay, I'm just not going to think about that ever again.
Yeah, that's funny.
But I still have some standout moments from playing when I was younger that I remember, and most of them are negative, which is funny.
Yeah.
I think that says a lot about the impact of those like negative moments compared to the impact of like some great moments that you have in sports as well.
Definitely. All right. Let's get stuck into it now that we have shared our past here for a brief moment. Our trauma, yeah. So the first question that we want to start with is, what went well? Simple start. Yeah, such a simple start.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes back to it does go back to the negativity bias that we talked about, that we tend to remember the things that didn't go well, or, the mistakes, etc. So we purposefully want to look for 3 things that went well in our performance.
Yeah, and it's important you can start really with the other side of things as well, but it's good to start with this thought process in terms of things that went well, because it is often easier to think about the things we want to work on, the things that we could have done better. So it's like, no, let's actually purposely take a moment to think about the things that we did good. And this is, even if it felt like a difficult performance, we got to look for those things that went well. And they can be like, in football or hurling, for example, it might be like a nice score you got, or a block. So things that stand out. But then it also might be, I prepared really well. Like my nutrition was on point. Physically, I felt good. So it doesn't always have to be these standout moments in game.
Yeah, it can even be as simple as, I recovered well from a mistake that happened, or usually in this situation, the ref would really get on my nerves, but I stayed composed. It can be such a broad range of things. So when you're asking this question as well, we encourage you to think about it and actually think about the whole performance, not just say, oh, I had some good passes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what about those passes were good? Is it because you were moving well, you were being vocal? Like, there's so many things that goes around that. And so with time, when maybe we get more used to asking ourselves this question, also try to dig a little bit and to expand on it.
Yeah, like, why was that good?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because that will stand to you in the long term when we're building basically this bank of things that went well.
Yeah. And with this, we always say, like, try to think of 3 things that went well.
Yeah.
Just so that, it's more than just the one thing that you did good on that day.
Yeah, and there always be 3 things. You just got to look for it. And I think a key point with this as well, and it goes back to the negativity bias, is that we are programming the brain to look for the wins instead of actively looking for the things that maybe we're unhappy with. So we're programming the brain to look for, we did this well, we did that well, or we're proud of that, etc.
And then the second question is, what's worth improving? And before we get into that, why is the wording important here, Frida?
No, we don't want to say what was good, what was bad, because when we say that, it's very black and white, it's very final. It either was or it wasn't. And when we use the word improving, we're looking for opportunities to get better and to improve. Even like in the same way I said, programming the brain to look for what went well, we're programming the brain here to look for improvements. So that automatically is a positive perspective on our performance.
Yeah, it might actually be something that you still did it quite well.
Yeah.
And you could improve on it.
Yeah.
And with the wording, like the word worth is really important here, because, after performance, there might be 5-6 things that you're like, I could definitely improve that. But with the word what's worth improving, we have to think, right, if I have, 2 weeks to even, let's say, a month until my next performance, what's actually worth putting time into in that time? Like, is it the thing that happens once every other game, or is it the thing that happens like multiple times in one performance? So we can actually kind of have this hierarchy, if you will, of things that, okay, I actually think I want to put time into that, because otherwise we could spend time on things that, like, maybe it actually is not necessary,
Yeah, definitely. And I think something that's important to take into consideration when you're asking this specific question is the time frame. So what you brought up here. So let's say for some sports, they might compete every week or every other week, or for you playing handball, it's there's a bigger gap between the tournaments. So that also might allow us to think about things a little bit differently. But if I play soccer and I have a competition this Saturday and then next Saturday, that's only a week. So then there's only so much progress we can make in a week. So that's why it's also important to think about, okay, well, what is the thing that I want, that I think is worth improving until then?
And that's why with this, we'd encourage you to think of like 1 to 2 things. So we're not just listing all the things that we weren't happy with. You maybe can have them in mind. You can have several things in mind, but you're only allowed to put 1 or 2 things down on the paper.
I think, with that and the time frame in mind, let's say for a handballer like yourself, you play a tournament and you notice that, okay, my power serve was not feeling as good as usual.
That seems very targeted.
That's because that's the one word I could think of right now. And then you have a tournament in a month.
Yeah.
That gives you a good amount of time to work on your power serve compared to if you were to compete next weekend again. Like, you're not going to improve dramatically over 7 days.
No, but I even think about that. Like, if my power serve is weak, but then I also could say, my left hand fly kill is also not great.
Very
it's not, guys. Like, it's probably going to be worth more for me in 4x20 to work on my serve.
Yeah.
Compared to, I've been surviving the last 20 years without my left-hand fly kill. Even thinking about it like that, if I only have an hour in between now, let's say I'm competing again in 7 days, if I only have a couple of hours to put time into things, and I already have many things that I'm focusing on, like, okay, what's the additional thing going to be? It's the thing that I do multiple times in a game, not the thing that I would like to do more often.
Yeah. So I think what sums this one up is what you said, the word worth. What is worth your time? And then narrowing that down, because we can get lost in, all of the different things we want to improve. But what is that, the 1 or 2 things that's worth it right now?
Yeah. So we have 3 things that went well, 1 to 2 things worth improving. Then the last question that we want to ask is, how can I improve this? So if you have 1 thing worth improving, you will have 1 action with that to improve. Again, this depends on the time length. So if you have 7 days, it might be, sometimes it's not about doing something either, actually, which I think is important. Like, it might be thinking about it differently. It might be taking a breath after a mistake. So maybe it's not something that takes more time. It could be a thought process. It could be, I forgot my shoes for playing. Not ideal. So next time I need to remember them, Yeah. But obviously if it's skill related, maybe you will say, like, okay, between now and my tournament in 7 days, I'm going to go to the court twice by myself and get like 30 reps in on my power serve each day,
Yeah.
So it's very specific, and that is, as much, I hope, is going to help me improve for next time.
And then with that too, with something that we can use to improve that maybe is more mental, it could be practicing your pre-serve routine, being very purposeful with using your breath, for example, right? Or if we're playing a sport where other people are impacting you, maybe the focus for the next training is to focus on what you can control.
Yeah.
For example. So like, there's so many ways we can look at this, right? And it all depends on what you want to improve. And then you get to decide how you will improve that. And why is it important to take these steps? To not just have I want to improve this, but also how will I do that and make it actionable?
Yeah, well, I mean, long term, if we just write down the things that we could improve, but then we don't actually do anything to improve them, we're just making a long list of ideas, basically. Whereas if we actually take action over time, how the reflective questions work is we build up this bank of like things that we're doing well, and also things that we have been improving because of the actions we're taking.
Yeah.
So over time, the things that are worth improving, that question actually becomes kind of irrelevant. It's good to help you process, but actually the important part is what went well. Because let's say, between now and, I'll just think about my own season, the All-Ireland final will be in March, So if I play many competitions, many training games, let's say I play 50 games in between now and then, I now build up 150 things that I'm doing well.
Yeah.
And then maybe I have 50 things that I've been working on improving. And with that, you might write down the same thing 10 times.
Yeah.
Like, that's okay.
That's important to remember.
It's probably not going to be better every single day is important. But then going into that All-Ireland final, I now have this like confidence builder. And that's why we'd always say like to get a little notebook that you can keep everything together, because then you can flick through there and see, multiple days I'm saying that my serves are really strong.
Yeah.
And I have taken action like a lot to improve my left hand fly. Maybe that'll be my thing this year. So it really works in the moment after a performance, but long term going into the next performance.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why this is so beneficial, especially if we are writing it down, because then you have it going forward. And one of the reasons why it's so helpful too, the last step and taking action, is then you are controlling what you can control, and you're taking action to improve what you want to improve, right? So we are taking control over over our performance in that sense.
Who would have thought we could talk about these 3 questions for quite a while?
No, well, aren't you lucky?
Yeah.
So I guess the space in between challenge for our listeners is get yourself a notebook and then answer the 3 questions. What went well? What's worth improving? And how can I improve this?
Yeah.
And just the last little note there, it doesn't have to be a competition or a game. We can obviously do this after any performance. It can be training as well. So it's up to you when you want to use it. It's not so much when you're using it, it's how you're using it.
That's always the key.
Yeah. And as always, with everything that we talk about, this is giving you another opportunity to keep using the space in between.
Very nice.
See ya!